Hello, beautiful moms and entrepreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, and I'm your host of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. This is a place where we come together to learn, grow, and inspire. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Hello, Unbreakable Mompreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, your host, and today I'm here with Alexandra Cheho, and she has a very unique talent and knowledge that I actually, just talking to her for a few minutes, learned some stuff that I never knew. And so astrology, some people don't know what that means. And so we are going to talk about that, as well as how being a high achiever can tie in and how you can focus on your strengths and be aware of your weaknesses as well. So without further ado, Alexandra, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience?
Well, thank you so much, Charisse. I'm so excited to connect with you today. So my name is Alexandra Cheho. I'm an astrologer with 20 years of background and experience, although my studies in astrology actually started when I was a child. It was basically how I learned how to read. Um,
Wow.
so I'm also an international instructor with the Modern Mystery School, and so I've been traveling and teaching astrology and spiritual martial arts all around the world. It's been a pretty amazing journey. And I focus on working with entrepreneurs as well as executives and professionals to use the tools of astrology for forecasting to prepare for their lives so that they can buy back a little bit of time and have some personal life as well as professional success.
Well, I got fixated on a word that you said. You said spiritual martial arts.
Yes.
What does that mean?
So, well, I mean, most martial arts actually have their roots in spirituality, to be honest with you. But I teach a program that's actually called Warriors of Light. I'm part of a team, and we travel internationally, and we teach martial arts in combination with chi and energy work.
Oh,
And it's a really fun program, actually, that we teach through the Modern Mystery School. And so I teach that program about 4 times a year, twice here in Canada and twice in Japan.
that is so cool. When I ran a massage therapy school, they did some of that stuff, like the acupressure. I remember sitting
Yes.
down, and when they were like touching this little thing and touching, I'm like, this is the stupidest thing and a waste of my time. Like, but I'll play along with it. And no joke, by the time I got home, the things that I was dealing with definitely had remedied themselves. And I'm like, wow. So I'm like, okay, that was just a fluke. Did it again, same exact thing. I'm like, this is amazing. And so the energy work and the things that you're doing, they really are amazing tools.
It makes an absolute difference. And I mean, whether it's acupressure or acupuncture, sometimes they're just sticking a needle in you. And then I have this one acupuncturist, he'll come and he'll brush the needles and like them sway and stuff.
Oh,
And you're like, oh, but you feel so much better afterwards. It's really incredible. And even when you do martial arts, when you incorporate that energy work, it's so freeing, not only for your mind, but also for your health and your physical body too.
it's so cool. Well, let's talk about being a high achiever and how what you do and what you teach can help high achievers that kind of feel like they're always on the go, and how do they like slow down and what can they do?
So I think the first thing to understand is that every one of us is the center of manifestation inside of your universe. So everything comes from you.
Mhm.
Now, for some people, I mean that might be a very empowering statement, and for others, it's like, oh, it's a lived experience every day.
Mhm.
And sometimes it can be a bit burdensome, especially for the high achievers, because you have 25 things on your to-do list for the morning.
Mhm.
Never mind the rest of the day.
Yep.
Right? So I use astrology to prepare.
Hmm.
So, so one of the key things to understand energetically about manifestation in your reality is that everything that is happening in this moment is the culmination of every moment that has preceded it.
Yep.
And preparation is what can make an absolute difference to that to-do list of 25 things being rather easily accomplished versus feeling like a lodestone that you're carrying about your neck as some kind of medieval punishment. you know so preparation is essential. And astrology, especially in terms of working with it as a forecasting tool, helps you to look ahead so that you can be prepared. Because often it's not the systematized things that are part of your life or part of your career as an entrepreneur or a high achiever in any sense. It's the things that you didn't see coming. One of my martial arts coaches and we have a joke. It's the punch that you don't see coming that hurts the most.
Yeah, that's true.
And using astrology, it opens up your awareness and perspective so that you can see, quote unquote, those punches.
Mm-hmm.
So that even in just having some form of awareness, that gives you options. And it gives you the ability to respond. Because for many high achievers, it's not a matter of you don't know what to do. You're not so likely to freeze on the spot, right? You can formulate a plan, pretty quickly. It's more that when something catches you out of awareness, and like I said, it's kind of like a punch entering from a part of your field of vision that you can't see. That's when things can really kind of offset you. And then you end up on that downward spiral because you're also trying to maintain everything else. But with preparation and with that awareness, you have the ability to manage how you respond to things, to delegate where needed, to put weight elsewhere so that you can free up the resources, even if it's just your own personal energy and mental space, to be able to respond to something that's coming.
I love that. So, what type of preparation? How long does it take? And can you give an
Yeah.
example?
So first of all, when I work with my clients, I do astrological forecasting.
Mm-hmm.
So even just in terms of the sessions that I do itself, usually I sit down with my clients and they provide all their birth details to me, date, time, location of birth, and I will forecast out for the year. And usually I'll work with them on a quarterly basis. And so for, the first quarter of the year, we do an overall view and then we go section by section. And when I'm forecasting, there's specific things I'm looking at, and it kind of depends on the client, but in general, one of the things that I really feel is absolutely essential to the forecasting that I do is even just looking at vitality levels throughout the year. Because high functioning and high achievers, you kind of tend to count on your vitality being a consistent level. But that's not true, is it?
No. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's peaks and there's troughs.
Mm-hmm.
So with using the tools of astrology, that's absolutely one of the things that I actually consider essential to forecast. Because if you know that you're entering a time where you're going to be more introspective,
Mm-hmm.
more restive in nature, and that your capacity to deal with the outside world is lessened, say for a 2-month period, well then, if you know that ahead of time, then perhaps you can delegate parts of that work to somebody else. Or there's things you can take care of now so that you don't have to do it during that period,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Interesting. I've heard this, your hormone cycle. There are different cycles you cannot be consistent all the time. You're going to burn out because you've got to take breaks. And if you don't, then it's not a good thing. And so I like that you can figure out when are the good times and when maybe you need to delegate or get somebody on board to help you. That makes sense.
Absolutely. And using the same principle, for anyone who's an entrepreneur, there are times where it's really good to promote the business and to focus more so on sales, marketing, communication, reaching out. And then there's times that are more preparatory in nature. And so those are the times where you're going in and you're checking in on the back end of things.
Mhm.
Are your systems functional? Do you have all the resources you need at hand? Are there repairs or upgrades or overhauls that you're looking to achieve? Is this perhaps in a preparatory period a good time to do research? Because maybe you have new products or projects that you want to launch, right? And so even looking at it from that perspective, um, you have the opportunity to kind of allocate time and resources in such a way that make your life easier. Because when you're constantly trying to work against the current, it it's
Tiring.
just tiring.
Yeah, it does. It gets tiring. Okay, so is there any astrological sign that does not make a good entrepreneur?
To be honest with you, no.
I didn't think so. Yeah, I bet I was wondering. So,
No,
what
it's
what
it's really about harnessing your strengths in order to manifest and to support yourself in the areas where you don't do so well.
okay. And what about the patterns in an entrepreneur? What are some of those patterns that you see across the board?
So one of the patterns that I tend to see across the board are special relationships either with Mars, who is the planet, he's the god of war, but also he is the planet of action and initiative,
Okay.
right? And so sometimes I see him in positions of exaltation, which are strong positions for him. But also, and this is interesting, I frequently see him in patterns of detriment in entrepreneurs.
Hmm.
And, astrologically speaking, when a position is in detriment, or a planet is in detriment, very often we are working on acquiring its powers. And so entrepreneurs, I haven't seen it in all of them, but I've seen it rather frequently where they have Mars in detriment to some capacity. And so they don't take that power of Mars for granted. They're trying to earn and work with it. They're trying to acquire it as a strength. And so I actually see the detriments of Mars in entrepreneurs more frequently than I actually see the strengths.
Really? That's
Yes.
crazy. Okay, interesting. So, how did you get into all of this and how long have you been studying it?
So I started studying astrology. I was about 5 or 6 years old.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
my grandfather was an amateur astrologer and he had his books. So when I would go to my grandparents' place, there wasn't much to do. So I would go and I would steal his astrology books and I would lock myself in the guest room where all the snacks were. And my grandmother had a wall-to-wall closet full of snacks. It was the best room in the house. Uh, so I would go lock myself in there and I would read his astrology books.
Hmm.
And in there were stories about Athena and Zeus and Ares and Aphrodite and all of these Greek gods and goddesses. And I fell in love with their stories. And so I kept reading the books, and that was how I discovered astrology. And as
Oh,
I got a little bit older, I would sit down with his books and a dictionary to help me understand the words that I didn't necessarily recognize at 6, 7, 8 years old.
I love that. So I want to dive into more the business side of things because
Yeah.
you've created an entire business. Obviously, you're traveling the world and coaching people. So how did you get started with that?
So my my early adulthood, I actually was working in healthcare.
Oh, wow.
So, so I was working in motor vehicle accident clinics. I was treating patients, and it wasn't for me.
Hmm.
Now, my love for astrology had been lifelong. And I started doing chart readings on the side. So, of course, it started for friends and family, and it just kept growing. And so eventually, I guess you could say I had a side business, and I wouldn't even say eventually. That actually manifested pretty quickly. And on top of it, I had begun studying at a place called the Modern Mystery School that I mentioned earlier, and I had been taking classes on spirituality and understanding the higher self versus the negative ego, and I had become a practitioner.
Hmm.
So there I was offering readings and spiritual healing. And I had come to a point where I was like, okay, healthcare is not for me. So I'll never forget, I walked in after the new year. It was, first day back in clinic. And I didn't even intend to do this. I walked into the office and I quit.
Okay. You jumped out
And
and took that leap of faith.
I didn't even walk in there intending to quit. I walked in and I was like, I can't do another day in here.
Wow.
And so I just quit. I was like, sorry, I'm not coming back.
Oh my gosh. Okay, there you go. So,
So
oh, keep
so
going.
from there I continued growing my business, and I was actually using the astrological forecasting to help me with my own business. And so other practitioners started noticing, and that was how I started moving into astrology specifically for business.
That is so cool. And how do you get your clients? Is it word of mouth? Do you do advertising? Um,
So primarily, I work through word of mouth.
okay.
I mean, I've also been around a long time,
Hmm.
and I do have a large client base after basically 20 years in practice.
Wow.
So most of my business is word of mouth. I do a little bit of advertising. However, it's never really been completely necessary for me. And so I do a little bit just to fill in certain gaps, but other than that, I have a pretty consistent business, and I'm really blessed and lucky to be able to say that I do.
Well, what is one piece of advice you would give a new business owner that you now know that you wish you would have?
You know, I think what I would say is you really need to understand yourself. Manifesting a business will tax you
Mhm.
to the umpteenth degree. It's going to push you to really own and take hold of your strengths, but also it's going to put a lot of strain on the areas where you're not strong.
Mhm.
So you need to know yourself before you really undertake that. And the reason that I say that is because most people worry about failure.
Mhm.
That's not what I tell people to worry about. Worry about, can you actually manage success?
Wow. Yep. And I think that that's why a lot of people don't step into their potential because of the fear of the success, which is a crazy thing, but it's true. A lot of people struggle with that.
Yeah, because success often means output beyond a level that most people are comfortable.
Mhm. Yep.
And it's that's doesn't have to be entirely the case. Again, if you prepare well and if you understand yourself and if you bring in tools or assistance to help mitigate some of those
Mhm.
weaker areas, but you have to know yourself first. And as much as you know yourself, the minute you engage in that business and the minute it starts growing, you're going to know yourself again and again and again and again and again.
Yeah. Because you need to in order to, and finally come to terms with, okay, I'm not good at this. I need someone else to take it off my plate so that I can focus on what I am good at. So that's so true.
Exactly.
Well, if our listeners wanted to get a hold of you because maybe they want a reading or they want to work with you, because this is very intriguing to me. I'm like, oh, I want to go to that school. Wonderful.
Well, I would be honored to connect with anyone. They can find me on my website, astrologerroyale.com. And I actually have a free ebook while they're there. Um, and so it is called, oh, my brain just left me right now. It is called Star Powered Resilience. And it is a zodiac inspired guide to understanding your strengths and also how to mitigate stress. And so it's filled with all kinds of tips and tricks based on your zodiac sign to just give you moments of peace.
It's amazing. And she knows her stuff because, like I said before we got on the call, that she was able to tell me stuff that I did not know. So it's super cool. And it would be fantastic if you're struggling and you want to understand your strengths, your weaknesses, and how that affects you with your zodiac sign, then please go give Alexandra a call. And moms, first of all, thank you for being on. And I really appreciate you coming and taking the time. But moms and unbreakable mompreneurs, I hope that you really do take the time to figure out who you are and what you want, and is what you're doing serving you well, or do you need to bring in other people? So listen to it, reach out to Alexandra, and if you like this, please subscribe and share, and go out and make it a great day. Beautiful moms, remember, you are unbreakable. Keep illuminating the world with your strength, pursuing your dreams, and reveling in the splendor of motherhood. This is Charisse Walker, bidding you farewell for now. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations on the next episode of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. Until then, keep shining bright. Signing off with love, Charisse Walker.